it's been more than 6 months since R3 and Solana announced their plans to bring regulated financial institutions onto public blockchain rails. Now, today, R3 unveiled the Quarter Protocol, a Solana-based system designed to let traditional issuers tokenize assets directly on-chain and tap into a marketplace built around real-world asset yield vaults. Well, joining us from Abu Dhabi now is David Rutter, CEO of R3. So, David, great to have you here. Thank you so much for joining me. Solana Breakpoint kicking off today. And I understand liquidity is often cited as the main obstacles when it comes to scaling tokenized assets. So tell me what it is about the RWA market that made R3 decide a new protocol on Solana was necessary now.
Well, yeah, I mean, that is one of the limitations for sure. What we've been focusing on is alignment between what on-chain investors are looking for and what real-world asset issuers expect. As you said, we announced our partnership 6 months ago, and we've been learning a lot, drinking from a fire hose, but really trying to focus on how to satisfy both parties. What we found was there was, a break in the linkage between the two. It's pretty simplistic to say, hey, we're going to just bring a whole bunch of real world assets on chain. But if that's not what the on chain investors and the allocators are looking for, it's not doing much good. So we're really focusing on what product could we develop to bring to the market to make it super easy for real world asset issuers to get access to on-chain investors, but also be appealing to on-chain investors who are looking for real world yield, but instant liquidity. And that match is not always there, as you know, because most securities and the like are for longer term. And we think we've helped solve that through our protocol.
And David, a lot of announcements coming out from Breakpoint. So walk us through how the Quarter Protocol actually works for traditional issuers who may not be familiar with moving assets directly onto a public blockchain.
Sure. Our CTO, Richard, is going to be getting into details here at the conference tomorrow. So I don't want to steal all his thunder. But the idea is to make it, like anything new, it's difficult. And the real world assets that have been issued on chain so far, which is actually quite small in volume, has been rather painful for those issuing parties. What we intend to do is make it very easy so that it's an absolute afterthought. But that only solves one part of the equation. The other part, which is important in the protocol and the yield vault that we're building, is really making it appealing to on-chain investors. And that's part of the secret sauce, to make sure that they can have the liquidity profile they're looking for, so they can get the yield that's a responsible yield that they're looking for from real world asset, but also to get the instant liquidity, because the DeFi and the crypto community likes to move their money instantly, as you know.
And you just brought up yield vaults. So if they do become a central tool for on-chain investment, how do you expect this to change capital flows for both institutions as well as DeFi investors?
Well, if you believe in the token economy, which we really do, um, over time we're having a kind of mean reversion by both parts. A lot of the things that go on in DeFi are kind of mirrored image of what happens in TradFi, but just kind of leveraged in faster money. And our view is that this will normalize over time, but it needs products like our R3 protocol to help it get there. So as we see more and more liquidity develop on chain, they're looking for these real world assets. And we believe that we figured out how to make it easy and satisfactory to both parties through the R3 protocol.
And finally, you are on the ground in Abu Dhabi. Last time I saw you here in New York, it was for the Solana Ship or Die event for this year. So give us an idea of your conversations with some of your stakeholders and what's the mood in Abu Dhabi right now, especially on the heels of other events taking place.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. As you will recall, we talked about the energy, and the energy here is amazing. It's actually in a stadium. It's the largest stage environment I've ever seen. And the energy is absolutely infectious. There's a bunch of startups here that are, betting their house on their belief in Solana and the belief in their product. And I love that. And today I was on the main stage with one of the key regulators here in Abu Dhabi, and I think that's what differentiates this place. They're very progressive. They believe in the tokenization economy of the future, where it's not just about money and bonds, but all real world assets will be available in a tokenized form. So there's always been energy in Abu Dhabi, and they talk about the capital of capital, but there's alignment between the regulators, and they really encourage entrepreneurs to try things and create the imperfect environment for it. So it's been great. Sad you're not here with me, but it's been a really great conference, and I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, and David, finally, while I have you here, 2025 has been quite the year for digital assets around the globe. So what do you think is on the horizon for digital assets as we head into 2026?
What's on the horizon? I think we're going to see some new and interesting assets tokenized. I know that for a fact because we're working with different companies, shipping companies, gold tokenization, different types of hard assets which will be tokenized. So I think that the conversation continues to develop. Look, I'm not predicting that all of a sudden we wake up in 3 months from now and then everything's on chain, but that certainly is a direction of travel. So we'll see some unique protocols like what we're announcing. We'll also see new asset types in tokenized form, which further democratizes capital markets and allows an everyday investor to take a piece of the economics of real hard assets. So I think that's something to watch.
Okay, David, thank you so much for joining us from Abu Dhabi. Have a great evening. And next time you're back in New York, stop by our set here at the New York Stock Exchange.
Good stuff. Thank you, Remy.